Hello and welcome to another UML Operator Early Adopter episode. And in this episode, we're going to be talking about model export and import. So this episode is for modelers that are new to Sparx and wondering how to efficiently export and import their model data. Whether you're just starting in UML modeling or advancing in case tools, or you're using visual diagrams to represent your ideas, mastering the import and export process in Sparx is essential. So let's get started. So why is export import important? First off, it helps you share your models across different projects. It enables collaborative teamwork in system and software development. It supports version control and backup strategies for your UML diagrams, and it allows integration with other case tools and enterprise frameworks. So we're going to talk more about that in just a moment. All right, so our use case here is we've just finished our system context for a solution or a design, and we want to share this with other team members, either in their local environment or a Team SQL environment, all right? So we're going to export this using two different methods. So to get to export, there's a couple of ways. There's the shortcut, which is Control, Alt, and E, and it's going to bring up the dialog box, all right? Now, make sure you're on the package you want to export, and it'll tell you right here. This is the package we want to export. You can always change, there's only one package in here, what package you want to export if you weren't on it, and we've validated that. So the first approach we're going to use is XMI, an open management group or OMG standard that all case tools, UML tools in particular, follow to exchange intelligence between each other. So we're going to use XMI 2.1. I'm not going to talk about 1.1, much older version, 2.1. All right, we want to format the XML object. That's set by default. Go ahead and leave that, right? We want to choose where we want to put this, right? Now I have two different naming conventions here. One, when I'm doing something in XMI, the OMG standard, and two, if I'm doing it in native XML, a Sparx standard, all right? And we'll talk about that one in just a moment. We're going out in XMI. So XMI is what I do, underscore the name of the diagram, and then I might put out that this was XML out. Probably everything's going to be out, but I'm basically stating here, hey, I'm taking my e-commerce customer facing system architecture and I'm sharing it hourly. And then the last, the most important thing is that you have some sort of versioning scheme. And in this case, I'm using the date, right? 02/1925, that's February 19th, 2025, right? So we're going to step on this. Let's go ahead and hit save. You could certainly have an opportunity to rename the file. Maybe you want to keep multiple versions or backups. And so you can certainly do that. In this case, I'm just going to step on this file. So I'm hitting yes, and then we're going to hit export, and it is done. Next, let's go ahead and export this using Sparx native XML, right? So instead of using the shortcut, what we're going to do is go to Publish, and you'll see here in Model Exchange panel, export, right? And then you have a bunch of different choices. We're going to use the native format, right? So it brings up the dialog box that we saw before, and it puts us on a native format for Sparx XML. And we're not going to talk about XEA. I talk about that in more advanced videos, but we're going to use XML, all right? We're going to leave format XML output checked, which is by default. We're not going to change anything else. We're just going to hit export, and it is done that fast. Now, we're not going to close this dialog box at this time. What we're going to do is take advantage of View XML, all right? So when we open this, and you can do this with the XMI format, it's in OMG XML format, layout, and so on. We're just going to close here first. The cool thing about the native XML export is this is a teaching moment for you, right? So if you want to learn the Sparx tables, the SQL, here's an opportunity for you. Basically, everything in this model, it has tag values. We can open anything. Let's open this one here. Let's go to tag values. There's a lot of intelligence on here. Look at all these tag values. So all of that data was exported and a lot more, right? We have an image file here. We imported our reference data, which you learned in this channel for My First. And we have a lot of data here. So when we go here, we see the T object table, and this has all of the element rows for everything, right? All of this data is in the T object table, right? That's relevant to us. Let's go ahead and minimize this. Here's our package, and there's just one package in here. It's pretty simple. So there's only one row in the package table, and here's all of the relevant metadata for that particular package, which is this one right here. There's also a root node in here, but we didn't export the root node. We exported this package, right? Then you have your T object properties table. This is where all your tag values are. So you get to learn that and how that's formatted in case you're writing your own SQL, and then much more, right? Here's our T image table right here for our logo that we brought in, that we've included in this model. All of that is exported in this file, and you can go over to another Sparx instance, which we're going to do here in a moment, and you can import this, and the outcome should be exactly this, especially if that project has the logo reference data in it. And now if it doesn't have the image data, in this case, we're using the UML operator logo. If it doesn't have this in that target project where you're importing, this is not going to show up. It's just going to be a square image box. All right. So we're going to show that in a moment. All right. So let's get over there and import this file. Right now we're over in a blank project here, just starting, and we want to bring in or import our solution architecture, right? Our system architecture. So I'm in the default layout. In this case, I have browser on the left, properties in the upper right, and notes in the lower right. All right. So this is completely blank. And statistics, there's nothing in here. There's one package, one diagram, one element. All right. So here we go. Let's import this. So we want to be over where we want to import this exported file. All right. So this case, we're going to use the shortcut Control, Alt, and I. It brings up this dialog box and has a bunch of things that we need to configure or look at prior to importing, right? And these are all the defaults. Import diagram, yes. Import using single transaction, not recommended for large projects. That's checked by default, yes. Check if package can be imported as a model root, that's a root node. We're going to leave that yes. If someone exported the entire root node, I want to know that, right? So, because I want to create whatever that root node was. Strip GUIDs, this is going to remove the global unique IDs from the imported file. I don't ever want to do that unless I know what I'm doing, right? Because my teammate just shared a model and I want to collaborate on that. So we want to collaborate across the exact same elements, and they're managed by their global unique IDs. And then write a log file. This is not checked by default, so I would not check these two unless you know what you want to do or that's your intention. Merge XMI, we're not doing that. Really, XMI 1.1 is the only thing that supports that. And then you can choose to baseline the package after import. And we definitely want to do that when we're bringing in model data from an outside source, because we want to maintain a difference as we possibly could be making changes to the model and then sharing it back. All right. So let's see here. Anything else we want to check? Nope. We don't have to deal with what version that they're on. We're just going to go ahead and browse for the file. We're going to go to XMI. This is where I keep everything, whether it's native or it's the OMG standard XMI, right? And it doesn't matter which one we did. We did these at the same time, didn't make any changes, all right? So we could bring in either one of them, and I'll prove that point in just a moment. But let's bring in the native one, since that's what I mostly deal with. And let's just go ahead and hit open. All right. Again, we don't want to strip GUIDs. We want to maintain the global unique IDs. We definitely want a baseline. So let's go ahead and hit import. Okay to import the XML file? Yes, please. And there we go. We asked the baseline. We're going to give it 01, date and time. Hit OK. And now we're done. Let's go ahead and close this. Go over to our browser, which is over on the left. Open this up. And we have everything here. Let's go ahead and delete this particular file. All right. So what I'm going to do is go up here to the namespace, the file folder that we just imported. I'm going to right click on it and I'm going to delete. Oh my goodness, it is gone forever. All right. And now what we're going to do is import again. So this time we're going to go to publish and then model exchange, import, and then you can choose one of these. Let's go ahead and choose native. That's the one I mostly use. Then we're going to browse. And we're going to bring in native and we're going to hit open, right? We're not going to strip GUIDs. And this time, matter of fact, I chose the wrong one. Almost made a boo-boo there. We're going to bring in the XMI version. There we go. And that's why it's important to have a naming convention. So now we're going to import this. Again, we're going to baseline. All right. So we're going to hit import. Yes. And we're going to bring this in, right? We're going to give it a baseline version. Let's just go 02. The other one's gone. Doesn't matter what version, but make sure you have a versioning scheme. And now we're going to, it says everything's complete in your progress bar. We're going to hit close. Now let's look at this one, right? Same thing, native or XMI. All right. All right. So this is a learning moment here. We're going to go to images. We don't have any images in here, so that reference data is missing. And we're going to go to publish again, publish, import. I'm going to use XMI. It's going to go out and we're going to use XMI, import, right? We don't need a baseline. Let's go ahead and hit import. There we go. It is complete. You see that? All right. So now let's open this. It brought in the image for us. Let's go to image. Let's go to images. It brought in the image for us, even using the XMI. Now, if it doesn't, that's why it's important to import your reference data first. You can import that reference data, then swap out your image by right-clicking on it and then just changing the image. All right, and you learn that in this channel. Now, we deleted the folder. We re-imported the XMI. And we did not baseline. We chose not the baseline. And we're going to hit Control, Alt, and B. You can see there's no baseline. When we deleted the folder, we delete the baseline. This is very important for you to understand if you're versioning or you want to maintain backups, all right? So in this particular case, new baseline, put in version 1, date and time, leave the note default, hit OK, and there we go. Congratulations, you just did your first export and import of your Sparx models, all right? And there's very important steps to follow. Step 1, we're gonna go ahead and go to publish, there we go. We're gonna export. I use native, I prefer native over XMI, OMG XMI, because I usually don't share my models with other disparate or external tooling and technologies, but in the cases where I want to, I have an option to use XMI. So you want to make sure that you've got a repository where you store your XMI locally and for the team. Remember, just like software development, there's development, there is stage, and there is production. So I may export a model. It goes to a staging environment where a governance team or other peers look over the model prior to it going to production, right? Have a naming convention to separate out whether you're using native, even what format of that version of format you're using. Like I have XMI here. If I'm using 1.1, I will go XMI 1.1 or simply 1. And to separate it out from my XMI exports that are using version 2. No real reason to do that. There's a lot of older UML tools that only support XMI 1.1 or 1. And I want to differentiate the files that we're sharing with those teams and that tooling. All right. All right, let's wrap up. As long as you remember the steps to take, make sure you're baselining before export. Make sure you're baselining when you import so that you can understand the changes that are taking place between those events, okay? The next thing is to have a naming convention. Separate out your XMI exports versus your native exports, right? So that you understand in your repository, whether it's local, whether it's your team repository, what version of XML exchange or model exchange that you're using. All right. So I hope this video was helpful for you. Please leave a like if this content is helping you, and leave comments down below. I'll try to get back to you if you've got problems in this particular area, channels, or you disagree with anything that I have stated in this episode. All right. And until that next one, happy modeling.